Hey, is it being recorded?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So, uh, we are entering into topic number 4, which is energy policy. Remember, guys, this is a session that hopefully you can stop me and ask me question, inshallah. If I can, I will try to answer. Uh, the area of policy is very, very important to our knowledge in terms of energy law. It is something that is crucial for us to understand the current situation of our country with respect to the policy implementation. So, in order for us as law students or law thinkers to understand the law that we have that tries to regulate everything, we have to actually look at the policy because policy is the one is considered as the foundation of all the laws that we have in our country. Okay, it started with policy, then it will translate into eventually law, where we are going to study the area in four uh, angle. One is to understand what is policy, then why policy is important, when policy becomes law, and obviously some current issue and discussions. I don't want to also. Right. So this is the topic 4, the area that is covered under topic 4. What we need to do is we have to look at each one of them. And the first one that we are going to look at is what is policy. Now, anyone who has received the area that we want to cover, do you have anything to add when it comes to policy? What do you think? Is it when I make the statement just now, policy is the foundation of all the laws that we have in Malaysia? Uh, any respond? Any wants to make a statement with regards to that? Do you agree or disagree or macam mana?
Excuse me, sir. Chana, sir. Can you repeat that, sir?
Okay, the question is policy. So are you aware of policy?
Yes, policy.
Okay. The function of policy, is it something that is, do you know that the policy is very important for the our basis of law?
Yes, it's quite important.
Good. How about the rest? Are you okay? Good, Amy. Fatin, are you okay?
But sir, I think policy is just a few parts that needed. I think there's more than policy that we should look upon.
Yes, yes. So, but it will start somehow or rather, start from the basis of policy. And when it comes to policy, after policy has been created, then it will eventually translated into law. Okay, it will be brought up to the stage when we have this so-called government when it comes to parliament, and they will create the necessary laws in order to regulate that so-called policy.
Yes, sir. I think I will agree with that because policy is the starting point of everything.
Very good. Okay. Now, if you look at the area, what is energy policy? Because uh, policy is something that is important. Now, let me show you some government policies that we have in Malaysia. We have Malaysian foreign policy, national education policy, national transport policy. You know, this is I'm referring to the Malaysian government website, and you have numbers of policy. Okay, for example, national defense policy, entrepreneurship policy, so many policies that the government is a policy is just a planning, you know, is an idea of a plan. Obviously, policy is not a plan. Policy is a standard of idea that you wanted to have. So we have National Energy Efficiency Action Plan. We have Green and Technology Master Plan. So all these policies that the government came out with is the foundation of the things that they will implement. Yeah, in the next, if it is targeted, say for example, if you look at National Transport Policy 2019-2030. It is quite lengthy. So normally it's 10 years, right? So this particular policy that the government created is a master plan. Yeah, it's a master plan or master direction or mean direction of how we are going to implement that subject matter. Now, with regards to energy policy in Malaysia, this is something that we have to understand. Yeah? If you look at the policy of others, transport, education, foreign, for example, they have their own scope, yeah, and foundation. So, what we need to do is to be able to understand when it comes to energy law, what is the energy policy that covers or regulate the laws that we have. How come, as I already mentioned, policy is the foundation of all the laws that we are having currently, because of their implementation of the policy that the government is planning. Yeah? So energy policy is basically we are looking at the policy of the government with regards to energy. But before we go into that, we have to look at the what they call it, the scope, the scope or the definition. Obviously, whenever we want to do something, we will be looking at the definition. And from the definition, we will be able to understand the scope of the area that we are going to understand. So, energy policy, we am referring to not a definition, dictionary definition. The best definition is to be able to get it from a source, that is a place where researchers, or people are, what do you call it, academics, academician or researchers, they wanted to have the, what they call it, foundation in terms of gathering place in order for them to discuss things. And what would be the best thing is to look at journals and what do you call it, policy. Energy policy is one of the paper or one of the journals that is very renowned. Yeah? As I already mentioned, that we have seen, the previous articles. Yeah, it is based on energy policy. So here, if you look at this scope, or definition of energy, we can look at the energy policy is the policy implementation of energy supply and use of their economic, social planning, and environmental aspects. Maksudnya, energy supply and use. So we are going to concentrate the activity of energy supply and use by looking at the economic, social planning, and environmental aspect. This particular area of energy policy covers global, how far that this area of supply and use that we want to understand. It covers global, regional, national, or even local topics that is having wider policy significance. Say, for example, if you're looking at local events, with regards to environmental impact, the destruction of certain environment that we have, with regards to abuse, of abuse of the freedom that you have in our country to engage in any activity of your liking. But if you were to go to the extent that you destroy the environment, it is so significant that the government will eventually take up that local what do you call it, local communities and organizational perspective in order for them to formulate a certain immediate policy. One good example would be COVID-19. So COVID-19 is considered as a global, not only global but local phenomena, right? It's a pandemic. It's throughout the whole world. So Malaysia, what we have to do is to engage in a policy where we have to, plan out what are the things that we need to do in order to fight this pandemic. So recently, the what do you call it? The immunization. Is it immunization, guys? The vaccination, right? So the vaccination that Malaysia has decided would be to implement vaccination to the society by giving to the front liners in order for them to, safeguard themselves, safeguard their life, in order for them to be able to function and help the government to fight COVID. So the frontliners are the one that is more concerned to be given what do you call it, vaccination. So the, what makes the government do that? It is based on the planning policy, the idea of what they want to do. So as compared to UK, say for example, they have 1 million, say for example, vaccination. They implement to 1 million population as compared to Malaysia. If we were to have the same 1 million vaccination opportunity, we will only give to 500,000. So because that is double, every vaccination jab have to be taken twice. So 1 million would be given to 500,000 instead of 1 million as compared to UK and US. They just concentrate on the first, they just give the first round first to everyone, not worrying about the second round. So those are considered as communities and non-governmental organization pressure that they have towards the government in order for the government to come up with immediate policies. So this area that with regards to energy policy is a very broad area which covers the topic of energy environmental regulation. Okay, if you were to look at what we are doing is basically understanding the regulation of energy, and then we be looking at energy supply security. Obviously, whenever you create a policy, it is about to ensure security, ensure the supply, yeah, of the energy that you are to 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 to, to meet the demand of the society. So obviously that is the main concern. Otherwise policy is just policy without the ability to have what they call it, a biting punya effect. Yeah? And then the quality and efficiency of energy services, because you talking about services. If services is not proper, then obviously the whole system will start to deteriorate, and you have losses. You don't want to have losses when it comes to energy supply that you want to provide to the society. Then we have energy supply security. Quality and efficiency, yeah, I did mention that. The effectiveness of market-based, okay, if we were to make sure that energy is something of a commodity that I already explained earlier, that community, commodity, commodity, that supply energy as a commodity, where you are to be able to make sure that the things that you have is properly organized, properly distributed, properly utilized in order for it to bring benefits to your society. Okay, and what governmental intervention that we can have in order for market to be regulated. Say, for example, in terms of COVID, what would be the energy that is needed in order for the students? Yeah, say, for example, education to proceed with its their plan. Okay, we have national education plan. However, that national education plan cannot function if we would not be able to ensure energy to be supplied to the national education plan. So this governmental intervention, when it, with respect to all policies, especially when it comes to energy, is very important for us to understand. Yeah, for us to make sure that everything is okay. Then technological innovation and diffusion, meaning there must be something with respect to new development, new research, new progress, or new technologies that can be implemented by the government by utilizing their policy making ability in order for the what do you call it, the energy efficiency, energy supply, energy effectiveness to be increased, to be double or triple from what it is currently. Okay, so that is the definition with regards to energy policy, and from the definition you should be able to look at the scope. Okay? Any question on this?
So far, no, sir.
Yeah, okay, admin faham The rest, okay. So why I'm showing you this slide is because it is a basic understanding of what is the definition of energy policy, and from that you should be able to understand the scope of the particular area that we are going to cover. Now, let's move on to looking at the what is energy policy. This is just cut and paste from Wikipedia. Energy policy is a manner in which a given entity or governmental has decided to address. As I already mentioned, policy is for the government or any uh, organization that is empowered to do their activities. Obviously, that is something that they have to take up. Yeah? So, decided to address issues with regards to energy development. Yeah, including energy conversion. Uh, Energy development is something of how energy is to be developed, how obviously development means progress of the society with regards to a certain subject matter. And this particular area is the development of energy, which actually concern, kita ambil sini ya. Okay. Energy conversion. What do you mean by energy conversion? Is to convert, mana dia? Nah, okay, if you can look at this, what do you call it, description, energy transformation from generic energy system language. Yeah, so we have energy with regards to the sources that we have, and then we are to convert it into energy, and for that energy to be useful to others. And obviously, once you do the conversion, obviously there would definitely be energy loss. Yeah, so anything that is with regards to uh, energy transformation is something of very important for us to look into. And distribution and use, obviously, how it is being distributed, energy is being distributed locally. You know, you have the grid, Malaysian grid. For example, I have it here. Okay. For example, how it is being distributed, where it is to be distributed, why it is to be distributed there. If we were to look at Southeast Asia, when we have ASEAN, we did discuss about the sharing of uh, energy with other countries, to bring benefits. Because if we were to have access, so for example, Malaysia and Singapore, we do have the what do you call it, agreement with regards to our water supply. Okay, we supply raw water, then it will do the processing in Singapore, and then it will be sold back to Malaysia. That is with regards to water and energy water. And then we have, remember, when we are talking about energy, it is not only electricity, it's everything. Yeah? So Malaysia and Thailand, we do have sharing of energy sources, in particular electricity. If we Johor also is in the relationship with Singapore with regards to supply of electricity. Each countries, they cannot uh, produce their own. If they were to have extra energy that they can share with others or sell to others, they would do so. If we were to have that environment, energy is more effective. With regards to international, we have the international supply of electricity. Say, for example, we have this super grid, where this super grid is in a situation where countries are sharing the energy production with all other countries. Yeah? For example, thermal power plants, and then we have photovoltaics, and then we have wind, we have hydro, biogas. So different countries produce different what do you call it, different source of energy. Yeah, they can convert that source of energy or into something else, into electricity, and that electricity is to be used for other countries. Yeah, and say for example, we have wind. The coastal areas, countries that have coastal areas, they are more prone to wind energy, so they can convert the wind energy into electricity, and that electricity can be utilized by the whole European countries, and what do you call it, can be sold to so other countries like the Sahara countries, and then we have Arab Saudi and so on. So it is something that in the planning of the world stage, at the world stage, where we have losses of only 1.6% per thousand kilometers of losses of energy. So because if we were to transfer one energy to another, obviously I did mention about losses just now, kan? Okay, we are looking at energy losses. So here we're looking at the situation whereby mana dia? Okay, we have the situation whereby the losses of energy whenever it is transferred from one place to another. Uh, if we have extra energy from the coastal countries, to be utilized for their own, it is not beneficial for the whole society. So whenever you generate energy, obviously you want to make money out of it. So supply, and then you have demand. So whenever they have the demand that they want to satisfied, obviously this structure is very good for us to maintain. So countries all over the world have this so-called connectivity, and this connectivity is in relation to the planning that they want to have. So coming back, The attributes of energy policy may include legislation. Obviously, yeah, in order for you to make the policy happen, to make the policy what you call materialize, obviously you need legislation. And sometimes this policy is involved in international treaties that you sign, or you have promised with the international forum. So you learn this under international law. Obviously, we engage in with other countries. We go into agreement treaties. This is something that is normal for us living in the world. We go and sign up. We have Paris Agreement with regards to reduction of carbon production. Yeah, so that is the policy that we create in order for it to have some link, yeah, linkage or realities with international treaties. And then incentive to investment. Obviously, if you want to look at investment to be made with regards to energy, so you have to have incentive. Otherwise, people don't want to change. So, for example, normal utilization of energy from the normal sources, yeah, normal sources, gas, oil, coal, the impact of carbon footprint for these sources is higher as compared to renewables. So obviously, you have to encourage people to migrate from the original sources that we have into a renewable stage. So this renewable stage, we have to have like FIT, fit in tariff, something that we want to implement to encourage people to convert, to migrate from the normal into renewable energy by putting solar, encouraging people to put solar on top of their roof in order for the energy created from that solar to be transferred back to the grid. So incentive has to be given. So you see from time to time, Tenaga Nasional will come up with incentive. So guidelines for energy conservation. So obviously, this is something that we have to identify how to conserve energy, and the government have to have plan in order for them to identify how to save energy. You can meet demand, yeah, by creating more supply. Obviously, it is never ending, as you can see in the Saudi Arabia situation. Yeah, they just consume, thinking that that they have money, and then on top of that, it is cheap for them to to utilize the energy. So it is not good. It will have an what do you call it, impact to the environment, impact to the social economy of the society, especially the social impact, the negative side and also the positive side. So energy conservation is an area that energy policy has to look at. Then we have taxation, yeah, taxation with regards to energy. So countries all over the world impose towards their society some kind of taxation. For Malaysia, we have a renewable energy fund that we let me see whether, yeah. So we have this what do you call it, Tenaga Nasional. They are to have a renewable energy fund. For this fund is to be used in order uh, to increase the promotion of renewable energy. So fund that is being collected from us, uh, this is about 1.6% of your bill, yeah, consumer electricity consumption. If you have more than 300. kilowatt usage, if you have more than 300 kilowatt usage, then you'll be charged 1.6%, and that amount 1.6% of the being collected is to be under renewable energy fund. This fund is to be utilized in order for what do you call it, a form of taxation, in order to encourage or to materialize the policy that the government wants to create. Okay, and then a statement here saying that energy is the core component of modern economies. Obviously, if you go nighttime, you go Google Earth at nighttime, you see all lights that is, energy that is being used, electricity energy, and the world glitters at nighttime because of the utilization of energy, and it is an economy. Yeah, it is. We cannot survive without energy, especially electricity. Okay, it also function as not only for labor capital, and also energy for processes in terms of manufacturing and transportation, communication, agriculture, everything. You know, energy is something that is very real, something that we depend on. Therefore, we have to plan. In order for us to plan, we have to come up with policy. And that particular policy concern about the development of energy, the conservation of energy, the distribution of energy, and utilization of the energy. So basically, that is what it is stated with regards to energy policy. Any questions so far, guys? Other question?
No, sir.
Okay, right. So moving on, we look at energy policy for Malaysia. Okay, if you look at energy policy for Malaysia, just referring to energy policy here. Wait, okay, right here. Energy policy of Malaysia. If you look at energy policy of Malaysia, is being determined by our government, Malaysian government. What do you mean by Malaysian government? It is being decided by the executive that is empowered to run the country. So we have the executive running the country. They are the one who create these so-called policies that already showed you just now. Okay, the government obviously they came out with policy, and this is the one we want to look at, the energy policy of Malaysia. So the energy policy of Malaysia concern energy production, distribution, and consumption, as already discussed just now. Yeah. So the scope of energy conversion, distribution, and use. So the Department of Energy, Electricity and Gas Supply acts as regulator with other players in the energy sector. Obviously, they are the one that is the forefront with regards to how, what, when, who, So this department is concentrating on the creation of the policy. Okay. Uh, Supply, services, research, development, institution, and consumers. Mainly they are linked with GLC. We have Petronas and Tenaga Nasional in order for them to be able to plan, to plan for the future. So if they were to come up with policy of planning, obviously they have to have the government link companies like Petronas and Tenaga Nasional Berhad to play their roles into achieving what they want to materialize. Then we have government agencies other than especially here we are talking about Ministry of Energy, Green and Technology and Water. That is the main body. And then we have the Energy Commission, Suruhanjaya Tenaga. They are the one that is empowered to do policy making in terms of the energy that we have in Malaysia. And then we have also the institute, yeah, the Malaysian Energy Center. We have Pusat Tenaga Malaysia here. All these agencies, all these government agencies, yeah, uh, is working hand in hand with GLC in order for them to formulate a proper plan or policy. And this policy is actually based on the previous laws that is already in place. Now we have this 1974 Petroleum Development Act, PDA. So this PDA started with Petronas, yeah, starting established in 1974. Is very very related to what they call it, the policy that we have at that point of time. And then we have 1975 National Petroleum Policy. Nanti I tengok ni. Let's look at the policy. Oh, I will show it to you later lah. Sekejap Oh, oh. Alright. So what I'm trying to show you is that whenever they are making that policy, it has to be involved with all other agencies, yeah, all government agencies, and then on top of that, with companies, yeah, obviously the Tenaga Nasional, they do have a relationship with what they call it, their contractors. So they have independent power generation plants that is private, that is they have this so-called linkage with those people. If they were the one that is having contractual relationship with those people, with those companies, obviously because they are government, they are government based, obviously the government have interest or shares in the company. Obviously it is easy for the ministry to be able to create policies with the support from these people. Yeah. And then, as I already mentioned here, this policy is based on the current law that we have, like PDA, we have National Petroleum Policy, we have National Depletion Policy, we have Electricity Supply Act, Gas Supply Act, Electricity Regulation, and so on. There's more than this. Obviously, these are basically some of them. Yeah, and the policy have to be in line with the current law. The policy cannot change 100% as compared to the current law that we have. The policy have to build on top of the current laws that we have. Okay, so it's not about creating a policy that is going against the current laws that we have. Remember, laws are more secured, more what do you call it, stronger in terms of enforcement, yeah, in terms of validity as compared to policy. Policy is just an idea that the government have a vision, yeah, that the government wants to implement. They cannot implement without the backing of the law. And the law that they are going to refer to is the current law that they have with regards to the area of the policy that they want to create. So if it's on energy, obviously you have to look at all laws with regards to energy in order for them to proceed. So that is with relationship with energy policy of Malaysia. Let's look at the energy policy, the one that we have here. The Tokpa wanted to present the what do you call it, the planning of the national energy policy, the new one. This is hopefully second half of 20 this year, yeah, 2021, in order for them to plan, yeah, and develop with the vision of the country energy sector. So it is a form of pathway in terms of the economy and the industry. So policy is, everyone is waiting for the policy. In fact, it's not local, it's not local players, meaning the energy industry, the private sector or the government sector. Everyone is just waiting for the direction. It is not only local, it is also international. when international investors they want to invest in Malaysia, so for example, with their technologies that they have, to be part and partial of the policy implementation. So they need to have some kind of guidance in terms of what policy that Malaysia wants to have or wants to implement. So coming up with a policy that is an indication of what we want to do is something that is very important for other countries or other companies worldwide, in order for them to gauge where is the direction that we want to put ourselves. So here, hopefully, the new national energy policy is coming out based on what I already mentioned just now. It is based on the previous law or the current law that we have. The here we have this energy policy coming from where? Okay, so it's not the EPU, it's just a collection center. Okay, with the Prime Minister Department. EPU is a very powerful unit. However, they need to coordinate with all other plannings and with all other agencies, with all other ministry. So what they did is they gather the policy input from each area that they wanted to come up with. So national energy policy have to go in line with all other policies. So that is the department, that is the economic EPU's duty for them to come up with something that is interrelated with others, coordinated. Yeah, it must be coordinated with other policies. And the creator of this policy, the input, the input parties, the agency that is involved with the planning or policy is one of them is the sustainable SEDA, Sustainable Energy Development Authority. So here it depends on what the government is wanting to produce in the future. If the government is heading towards renewable, obviously SEDA have to play an active role, a more active role into giving inputs, because the know-how, the people that is knowing about that particular area is a division of the government, which is in here we have the Development Authority SEDA to look at that particular area with regards to sustainable energy. This input from SEDA, okay, they came out with that policy in order for them to give to EPU and for the EPU to create the policy. Okay, if you look at the what do you call it, renewable energy. Okay, if you look at SEDA, if the purpose of SEDA is actually to give direction to the government with regards to energy, yeah, renewable energy. So they came out with the input, and the national renewable energy is one of the outcome of that planning, or they are expert in that area. So the policy here we can look at. If you go to the website, I already provided you with the link. Then you will see the implementation of enhanced net energy metering, NEM, and solar leasing. Yeah. So solar leasing is, you know, for example, if you want to produce something to promote some energy production, obviously you have to do investment. Investment needs money, so they lease. The SEDA create what they call it, uh, a mechanism for solar to be produced, and in terms of leasing lah. What do you mean by leasing? Here the equipments, the solar panels. You go to KLIA, say for example, you see some plants, so solar plants that is being implemented there, because KLIA, you cannot create building more than a certain number of stories, because it is a hazard, because flight is coming in and out. So you see KLIA, we don't see high rise building, but they want to utilize the land other than agriculture, uh, other than palm, plantation. They create this energy farm. So energy farm needs money in order for the equipments to be implemented. So they provide subsidies or support with regards to solar leasing. That is to lease the equipment and so on. And then we have net energy metering, where what do you call it, Tenaga Nasional would be able to utilize the feed-in tariff. Say, for example, if you were to implement your own solar panels on top of your houses, then obviously the energy that is being produced from that solar is to be utilized in your house. But if it's extra, you have extra energy, obviously the energy to be redistribute or re-input into the grid. So if you're linked to the grid, if your houses is linked to the grid, obviously you can transfer and sell it back to Tenaga Nasional. That is what do you call it, feed-in tariff. But this feed-in tariff must have this so-called how to calculate. Yeah? So that is feed-in tariff must be translated into net energy metering. So net energy metering is to encourage people to install solar panels in order for them to gain some kind of monetary value. So if you are selling them something back to Tenaga Nasional, obviously you are making money back. Yeah, you are making some money from your utilization of that solar energy. So that is uh, the policy with regards to renewable energy, and this renewable energy is to be included into the master plan, yeah, national energy policy. So I'm just giving you one example of SEDA that they contribute, yeah, the what do you call it, the focus ataupun the direction of what the national energy policy is supposed to be. Okay, that is more or less the policy vision lah. Okay, then to implement large scale solar programs, this is something that needs to be implemented. It is not only for residential areas, it is to be implemented in a large scale. So we have to have uh, power generating punya situation that involve 10,000 panels. Sometimes you see in certain companies, they do install solar solar what do you call it, energy conversion, but it is not what do you call it, it's not maximized. So the maximization of the solar production must come in a large scale, and then we have to have that program. And then non-solar projects, we have to also concentrate on non-solar. We cannot rely on solar alone, because solar, for Malaysia, obviously for the world, we have night and day. So solar can only produce within the day time. And then if we have seasons, rainy season, obviously it is not effective. It is not that effective. So we have to rely on non-solar projects in order for us to make sure that our what do you call it, our contribution of energy coming effectively from other sources also. Okay, so this is just to give you some idea of agencies that is being engaging in renewable or energy, in order for them to uh, fit to the national energy policy. From the energy national energy policy, then you will see laws being created in order to achieve that. Uh, let's look at energy policy. Yeah. as I already mentioned here in this so-called Tokpa statement. So he did mention about Malaysia National Energy Policy. So what is the policy then? Let's look at the current policy that we are having. So let's go here. So this is the Malaysian energy policy. So they are focused into sustainable energy development and the way forward. If you look at this presentation slide, the chronological order of energy policies. So as I already mentioned, it is based on laws. So here, the first one is 1975, in order for us to get back our so-called petroleum resources that we have. Before that, before 1975, it is basically monopolized by Shell and BP. You know, they came in, they were, 1957 when we received our independence. We don't have any technologies or we don't have any know-how. They are the ones, Shell, BP, British Petroleum, Esso, Shell, they are the one that have managed to get royalties in terms of concession, yeah, concession of a place where they retrieve all the petroleum in order for them to, as a business, but they pay some kind of royalty to us, yeah, to the government. But the government started to realize, the government meaning the prime minister back then, Tun Mahathir, he realized that these people are coming into our house and getting the benefit that utilizing the resources that we have in our house, in our country, right? So rather than letting people coming in, let us have a control over that resources. So they started 1974, as already stated there. 1974 mana tadi. Okay, we have PDA 1974. The creation of PDA is in order for, let's look at PDA. Ada mana masuk? Ada dia? Oh, oh. Okay, you're looking at PDA, created in 1974 based on the policy of the government at that point of time. National Petroleum Policy 1975 is to make sure that the efficiency of utilization petroleum resources for Malaysia. For that policy to be effective, you have to secure the, what they call it, the you have to secure the petroleum resources, and to do that you have to have a law. Okay, if you look at this PDA, the main purpose of PDA is to create, what do you think? The section 3 says that the creation of that particular act, with in line with section 22 of Company Act, is basically to form Petroleum National Berhad. Okay, for the government to get in control of the resources of petroleum in Malaysia, we cancel all agreement, all concession, that we have with Shell, BP, Esso. So we cancel all those. We cancel them in order for us to give everything the rights to one company, which is Petronas. And with that, we can easily formulate our own policy to have our own direction of where we want to go. Ada dia tadi. Okay, so in line with energy policy, because we do have this and PDA in order for us to give some kind of guidance. Let us see. Sekejap, ya. I can close all this and tak pakai lah. Any questions so far?
Sir,
Yes.
so the PDA was made for the Petronas to enable them to monopoly the fuel sector. So,
Yes, yes. Basically, it's about that. But when when Petronas was created, the problem is that we have only petrochemical engineers. We have like 5 orang, 10 orang, you know. So if you go that back to history, it is less than 50. It is less than, I think it's less than 20. If I'm not mistaken, it is less than 20. So the government is so worried, you know, once they have control over petroleum resources of Malaysia, we have, we have tons and we have millions and millions of cubic meters of petroleum in our control right now. No more, no more giving to Shell, Shell, Esso, BP. You know, they have no rights over our own lands that we have in our country. So we are the one that is owning all the resources, Petronas. But Petronas obviously will give back to these companies to have JV, joint venture, in order for Petronas to develop that section of the area to produce oil. But the PDA is basically, as I already mentioned, the formation of Petronas is a headache for the government because they have to move, because you have the policy that is being created uh, with regards to PDA. You know, in 1974, this is just going back. We have all this policy. 1974 policy. We have national petroleum policy. If you look at the progress, so we have to have control over Petronas, over the resources, and we create Petronas. Now, as already mentioned, we have less than 20 petrochemicals engineers in Malaysia at that point of time. So it was a small, a small organization, Petronas. So what the government did was to send people out, from you see in 1970s or 1980s, people tak sempat dia habis dapat dia punya result SPM dah pergi overseas. That is why the government is so in need or very urgent, in need of people. So tak habis SPM, people will be sent out to overseas in order for them to study and come back under sponsorship. And we have a situation where people come back and work with Petronas or work with agencies that is going to support Petronas. That is very, very important. You see the case of Gujaran Singh. Okay, Gujaran Singh, the case come about because he was sent as a minor to overseas and under government sponsorship, and then he came back. He doesn't want to work with the government. The mode of transferring or sending our student overseas for the government to be able to get these people to come back and work with the government to make it effective when it comes to the policy that they created. So whenever they create energy policy, obviously it will eventually involve other ministries, energy in terms of uh, population, in terms of education, infrastructure, transportation. Everything is going to be coordinated. Yeah, that is the EPU punya what do you call it, task. So we have this progress. If you can see here, the progress of energy policy for Malaysia. We have PDA, Petroleum Development Act, and then we have National Petroleum Policy 1975, then National Energy Policy 1979, to ensure our energy is adequate and secure. You know, and then we have to make sure that it is not depleted, to make sure that we to ensure our reserve. So we don't what they call it, we don't take them out yet, but we identify where they are. So when we do mining, obviously when we do so-called progress in terms of discovering where we have these resources. So we have reserve. So if you look up the map of Malaysian Petroleum Reserve, and then you will see places that we earmark, that those are the reserves that we have. We don't take them out yet, but we what do you call it? We do the reservation of that in order for us to make ourselves secure, in order to make ourselves the economy of Malaysia stable. Otherwise, if you were to rely on import, other countries are going to hold us in terms of our progress. We need to have our own energy. Every country, if they were to progress, they have to have their own control of their own energy. If they are unable to do that, then you will see countries being backward. They are poor because they are not able to rely on their own resources. You play games, you play strategy game. Obviously, you have to have resources in your domain of control. Kan? Any one of you who likes to play strategy games, then you have to capitalize on the resources that you have. If the country doesn't have resources, then they will go out and try to conquer your land in order to gather the resources that you have. So this is what happening in the world. Now, people like America, countries like America, Russia, they have land, obviously. They have energy, they have reserve. They identify that they have reserve. You just cannot simply identify, oh, we do have reserve of such million barrels of oil. No, they have identified, they have researched, they have determined that they have that amount of reserve. So upon knowing that their reserve can last them like 20 years, 30 years down the line, they want to also control other people's resources. That is why BP, Shell, Esso has been going places elsewhere in order for them to reap the benefit of technology that they have, in order for them to gain all the control of oil. That is why Petronas was created. We don't want to be controlled by other people in our country of our resources that we have. So that is the to ensure, uh, you know where was I just now? America goes to war in order for them to control resources elsewhere other than their domain. So we look at Britain. They go, they colonize places in order to gain resources. War is like that. Japan goes to war. They know that they are going to win the war if they can uh, what they call it, control resources. And that control of resources, they have to attack Malaysia, Southeast Asia. They have to make sure that we are under their control in order for them to gain all the natural resources of Southeast Asia, in order to fund for their war punya plan. So basically, strategy in terms of planning, in terms of policy, is something that is very, very real in order for the country to move forward. Okay, we have four few diversity. We want to diversify the what you call it, the fuel that we have. We want to be able to have a balanced utilization of our oil, gas, hydro, and coal. If you look at the situation of I tunjuk kat you. Hmm, sekejap, Okay, coming back to this, you see the square is hydro power station, right? So we have what do you call it? Utilize, yeah. We have exhaust our ability to create what do you call it? Hydropower stations, because we cannot create more. Otherwise, we will be destroying the environment. Because whenever you create dams, you have to have a large amount of water, and many places we cannot afford that, because if we were to do that, disruption can also happen when it comes to dams, yeah. uh, okay, so if you, let's look at the video here. You tak dengar can you let, let's look but rather than uh, Okay, uh, I think you can Google it up. So things that happens when it comes to dams, yeah, we don't want to create environmental catastrophe, and then we don't want to have environmental impact. Yeah? Dams are dangerous in order for us to maintain. We have thermal power stations, yeah. We have Paka, YTL, we have these are contracts, independent power distribution atau power generating. We have Glugo, we have Onat, Genting Sanyan. So these are companies or places that produce power, and that is just to give you an indication of the things that in relation to what we were discussing just now. Okay, Petronas, we can close that one. So question, guys? This is energy development. So if we could look at the energy development, so renewables, they are very, the list goes on and on, right? It comes to my area is ocean power. Ocean power, we have wave, we have currents, we have what do you call it, OTAC. So this is one of the area, just to share with you. Energy. Question, guys?
Sorry, sir, to interrupt, but we actually have a class from 11 to 12.
Oh yeah,
Uh-uh.
you have 11 to 12. My
Yes,
class
sir.
is 10 to 12, right?
No, sir, your class is supposedly 9 to 11.
Oh my god.
Uh-uh.
Oh my god. No, Allah Akbar. Right. So, I think sorry about that. I thought it's 10 to 12. Oh my god.
Oh, no, sir.
Right. Guys, okay, we end the session. I will continue the session next week, inshallah.
Yes, sir.
Petang ni, can you relate? Just to give you a head up, prepare your your presentation. Obviously, two group is not yet presenting, right? So what I want the rest to do is to look at policy with regards to your area that you are doing. So look at the policy. Just identify the policy. Boleh?
Boleh,
Boleh,
sir.
sir.
All right, right. Sorry about the confusion just now. Okay. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you,
Salam.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum. Sorry about that. Aduh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Luqman, Hasif, tolong keluar. Nur Isya. I remove saya. Tidak record dia tak sini.